Have you ever imagined walking down a deserted road in the heart of the American South and feeling like you're being watched, even when no one else is around? What if I told you that both Mississippi and Alabama hide stories so terrifying that they make even the most skeptical doubt their own shadow? Today, we'll pit these two states against each other in a true supernatural battle to find out which one holds the darkest hauntings, the most macabre legends, and the most terrifying ghosts. What you'll discover next may surprise you. Mississippi, with its vast historic plantations, forgotten ruins, and cities marked by tragedy, seems to carry in its humid river winds the echo of centuries of suffering and mystery. It's a place where the past has never been completely buried, and where every ancient building may conceal an invisible presence, ready to reveal itself in the dead of night. Alabama, with its charming small towns, abandoned prisons, and old factories, is a land where stories of vengeful workers, ghostly apparitions, and unexplained phenomena mingle with the reality of a region deeply marked by struggles and historical scars. Both states have something in common: a rich cultural heritage, but also a dark past, full of conflict, loss, and injustice. And it's precisely this mixture of history and pain that gives rise to some of the Deep South's most chilling ghost stories. When night falls and the streets grow silent, locals and visitors report frightening encounters with spectral figures, unexplained sounds, and bone-chilling sensations. Have you ever experienced this? That strange feeling of being in an ancient place and knowing you're not alone? Well, that's exactly what many swear they've experienced in these states. Throughout this video, you'll explore the most haunted places in Mississippi and Alabama, delving into legends that have spanned generations, real accounts from those who claim to have seen the impossible, and stories that show how the supernatural seems to be alive and pulsating in these lands. We'll talk about ruins that hide tragedies, prisons where screams can still be heard in the darkness, mansions that seem frozen in time, and battlefields where the past insists on refusing to rest. Stay with me until the end, because every detail of this journey will leave you with more questions about what is real and what belongs to the world of the dead. Prepare to feel that chill down your spine and wonder if these stories are just figments of imagination, or if there really is something beyond what meets the eye. After all, when it comes to the supernatural, the most logical explanation isn't always the correct one. So, turn on the lights, close the doors, and dive with me into this chilling contest between Mississippi and Alabama. And in the end, you'll have the chance to decide which of these two states deserves the title of most haunted place in the American South. Now let's begin this journey and find out which one of them will win the first point in this ghostly battle. And as we begin to delve into these chilling stories from Mississippi and Alabama, I want to extend a special invitation. If this topic resonates with you, if you've ever felt that inexplicable chill when visiting an ancient place, or even if you've heard ghost stories that kept you awake at night, leave a comment with what touched you most so far. Sharing these experiences creates an incredible connection between us, because you may discover that you're not alone in feeling that the world holds more mysteries than we imagine. And I read every comment because that's where many of the next stories I share here emerge. Also, please like this video. It seems simple, but each like shows that this type of content is worth sharing and helps more people passionate about mysteries and supernatural stories find this channel. And if you're not already subscribed, subscribe now and turn on notifications. This way, you can continue to closely follow each new ghostly investigation I bring here. Your participation is what keeps this space alive, growing, and reaching more and more people who, like you, love unraveling the secrets of the unknown. So comment, like, subscribe, and join this community that's unafraid to explore the darker side of history. Now, take a deep breath, because what follows will take you straight to Mississippi's most haunted landscapes, where the past refuses to rest. The American South has always carried a tremendous historical weight, and both Mississippi and Alabama are two living examples of this. Every cobblestone street, every old mansion, every abandoned field seems to hide secrets that have never been revealed. The hidden truth is that the history of these places wasn't just confined to books. It remains alive, imbued in every wall, in every ancient tree, as if the past refuses to be forgotten. When we think of wars, bloody battles, injustices, and personal tragedies, it's easy to understand why so many people believe these states have become the stage for the most disturbing manifestations of the supernatural. Mississippi, with its vast river that seems to carry stories in its waters, is a state marked by great social and cultural transformations, but also by profound pain. The former cotton plantations, silent witnesses to a cruel era, are recurring scenes of hauntings. Many of these lands were the site of unimaginable suffering, and locals believe the souls of those who lived and died there still wander, unable to find rest. It's as if the very energy of the place has been shaped by the dark memories of a past that left indelible marks. When visiting towns like Natchez, it's impossible not to feel the weight of history around every corner. There, the preserved mansions are like time capsules, where the luxury of the architecture contrasts with stories of personal tragedies, sudden deaths, and family secrets that never came to light. Alabama, on the other hand, carries an equally intense history in its veins. With small towns that seem frozen in time, each historic building tells a silent narrative about decisions made in the past and their impact on the present. Cities like Mobile and Montgomery have their own aura, where tales of spirits appearing in dark hallways and whispered voices in the wind mingle with the official stories recorded in archives. Interestingly, the more you delve into local legends, the more you realize that these accounts are an essential part of the region's cultural identity. They're not just stories to scare children. They're memories, warnings, and even lessons about how human choices can resonate for generations. It's fascinating to see how people's mindsets change when they experience something they can't explain. Many residents swear that supernatural encounters have made them rethink decisions, question beliefs, and see reality through new eyes. This shows us that ghost stories are much more than spooky tales. They're part of a collective journey that connects past and present in an almost spiritual way. Behind the scenes of these narratives, there's always a point of reflection about life, death, and what lies between these two worlds. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding the historical context of each state is essential to understanding why these hauntings seem so real. During the American Civil War, both Mississippi and Alabama were scenes of violent battles, unimaginable losses, and drastic societal changes. Each town bears its own scars, and these scars, in a way, come to life in the stories that survive to this day. Plantations, prisons, hospitals, and battlefields are places where human suffering reached extreme levels, and it's no surprise that so many legends arose from these places. In Mississippi, for example, there are reports of ghost soldiers still marching on former battlefields, as if trapped in an eternal cycle of fighting. People report hearing heavy footsteps, distant gunshots, and war cries in the early morning hours, even when no one is around. In Alabama, there are decommissioned prisons where visitors claim to feel cold hands touching their shoulders and hear chains dragging across the stone floor. These are stories that, as unbelievable as they may seem, are told with such conviction that they are difficult to ignore. These places aren't just the backdrops of horror stories. They represent living memories of events that changed the lives of thousands of people. Each supernatural tale is, in some way, a reminder that the past never completely disappears. It's as if the environment itself carries the accumulated energy of all the lives that have passed through it, and this energy manifests in ways that defy logic. And perhaps that's precisely what makes studying these legends so fascinating. They're a blend of history, emotion, and mystery. When someone hears one of these stories for the first time, their reaction is often one of disbelief. But when you visit these places, feel the heavy atmosphere, see the ancient objects, and hear the stories of those who have lived through inexplicable experiences, something inside you changes. It's at this point that the stories cease to be mere entertainment and become part of a transformative experience, capable of shaking our very perceptions of reality. Comment there. That makes sense to me. When we think of Mississippi, it's impossible not to picture its striking landscapes and the air of mystery that seems to hover over every inch of land. Among all the state's haunted places, few hold as much grandeur as the Windsor ruins. Located in Claiborne County, they are all that remains of one of the South's grandest mansions. What's striking is not only its tragic history, but also the almost supernatural atmosphere that surrounds those solitary columns, standing like silent guardians of a past that refuses to be forgotten. The fire that destroyed the mansion in 1890 did not erase the site's dark memories. Visitors report seeing spectral figures walking among the ruins, hearing whispered voices on the warm night breeze, and feeling a strange oppression in the air, as if being closely watched by unseen presences. These experiences go far beyond mere urban legends. There are consistent accounts throughout the decades, stories passed down from generation to generation, creating a powerful connection between the present and a past steeped in mystery. And it's curious how, when you delve into the history of this place, you realize it's not just a mansion destroyed by fire. Windsor Mansion was built in a time of extreme social contrasts, where wealth and suffering coexisted at unimaginable levels. The hidden truth is that every brick of that structure bore silent witness to secrets, decisions, and dramas that shaped the destinies of countless lives. When someone visits the ruins for the first time, the feeling is almost indescribable. There's something there that goes beyond what meets the eye. It's as if the invisible walls still hold the echoes of conversations, laughter, and screams, frozen in time. Many who have been there speak of the transformation they experienced after the experience, as if something had shifted in their mindset regarding the supernatural. It's the kind of place that makes you reflect on the impact of human choices and how certain events can leave marks that not even time can erase. The sensation of walking among those columns is almost like stepping behind the scenes of a story that has never been fully told. The revelations that emerge from hearing accounts of apparitions, like that of a woman dressed in white wandering silently among the ruins, give the impression that the place is a kind of portal between what is past and what remains trapped there. And the most intriguing thing is that the deeper you delve into these stories, the more you realize that they are not just about ghosts, but about the very essence of human memory. Many locals believe the apparitions are linked to tragic deaths that occurred on the property, and some say the ghosts are not only of people who once lived there, but also of soldiers who passed through the land during the Civil War. The entire region was the scene of battles, cruel decisions, and drastic changes, and it seems to carry with it an energy no one can fully explain. Perhaps that's why so many people describe intense physical sensations when visiting the ruins. Goosebumps, chills, a weight on their shoulders, as if touched by something invisible. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding the stories surrounding Windsor isn't just about revisiting a mansion that no longer exists. It's about understanding how places can become receptacles for human emotions so powerful that they transcend time. Each account of someone claiming to have seen a ghostly figure there is a piece of a larger puzzle. A reminder that sometimes the most disturbing stories are those that live on even centuries later. What's most striking is how these narratives are filled with details that repeat themselves across different accounts, as if several people were describing the same experience without ever having met before. This creates a sense of collective truth, as if the memory of those who have been there were etched into the environment itself. And perhaps this is precisely what gives these stories their power. The sum of individual experiences that form something much larger, something that defies logic and reason. The presence of the Windsor ruins in the popular imagination is so striking that, even without having experienced anything supernatural, many visitors feel a strange connection to the place. It's as if, in that moment, they realize they are in direct contact with history in its rawest, unfiltered, unromanticized form. This realization prompts a profound reflection on our own journey, on how the past we construct today can, in some way, continue to exist in the memories of those who come after us. As we journey through these stories, it's impossible not to wonder to what extent these apparitions are real or a figment of our imagination. But perhaps this is the most fascinating part. It doesn't matter whether they're absolutely true or not. What matters is the impact these stories have on those who hear them, the power they have to make us question reality, life, and death. These are stories that remind us that not everything can be explained, and that sometimes the answers we seek are hidden in the very things we fear most. When we think of Alabama, one of the first images that comes to mind for those interested in supernatural stories is the former Sloss Furnaces facility, a complex of furnaces that operated for nearly a century and has now been transformed into a historical museum, but which retains a mysterious and, for many, frightening aura. The impact of these furnaces on the industrial history of the South is undeniable, but the behind-the-scenes stories of this transformation are marked by stories much darker than one might imagine. The mentality surrounding hard labor, the often cruel conditions for workers, and the countless accidents that occurred over the years have created fertile ground for the emergence of supernatural tales. Visiting Schloss Furnaces is like immersing yourself in a journey that goes beyond learning about ancient industrial processes. It's walking through a landscape where the past manifests itself in inexplicable ways. Many who have been there report hearing metallic sounds when the place should be silent, voices that seem to come from nowhere, and even visions of shadowy figures moving among the iron and steel corridors. It's as if the workers who suffered and sometimes lost their lives there are still present, unable to leave behind the horrors they experienced. These accounts create an emotionally charged atmosphere, where fear mixes with curiosity and respect for such a difficult past. What's striking about these cases is how these stories go beyond mere entertainment. They invite us to reflect on the real impact of human decisions, on how choices made in the past still reverberate in the present, even if in unexpected ways. Schloss Furnaces is not just a symbol of industrial development. It's a constant reminder of the painful transformation society has undergone to get to this point. It's precisely this hidden truth that gives haunting stories greater depth, almost as if each apparition were a manifestation of the weight of history itself. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic because understanding what lies behind these narratives helps us understand how the supernatural is often linked to intense human emotions, such as pain, regret, and even anger. These energies seem to permeate the places, creating an invisible field that can be felt by those sensitive to it. And it is this connection that makes Schloss Furnaces one of the most unsettling places in Alabama, a point where past and present intertwine in an almost tangible way. The atmosphere of the place is described by many as oppressive, and this isn't just a figment of the imagination. Research in environmental psychology shows that certain places can generate intense physical and emotional sensations due to their architectural features, the history they carry, and the expectations we create. In the case of Schloss Furnaces, the combination of all these factors creates a perfect setting for ghost stories to thrive. And what's fascinating is how these experiences affect the mindsets of those who experience them, often leading them to question what is real and what is beyond human comprehension. This duality between the rational and the inexplicable is what makes the journey through these places so unique. It's not just fear for fear's sake. It's a search for answers, for understanding the behind the scenes of what has remained hidden for so long. And when someone visits Schloss Furnaces and encounters a supernatural experience, be it a strange sound, a moving shadow, or that inexplicable feeling that they are not alone, it all becomes a personal revelation. Revelations that can change the way we view life, death, and what may lie beyond. And just as in Mississippi, these stories in Alabama are passed down from generation to generation, becoming part of the local culture. They play a transformative role because they serve as bridges between the past and the present, reminding us that every decision made by those who came before us can have a profound and lasting impact. It's as if the physical space itself carries the memory of these decisions, manifesting them in ways that go far beyond what we can explain through science alone. Skeptical as we may be, it's impossible to ignore the power of these stories and the way they stir the imagination and emotions of those who listen to them. What makes these accounts even more fascinating is the interplay between what we know to be historical truth and what remains shrouded in mystery, creating a constant tension between reason and the unknown. Comment there. That makes sense to me. Following this line of intensity and mystery, it's impossible not to bring to light the rivalry between the haunted mansions that stand as true monuments to the past in Mississippi and Alabama. These buildings in themselves are symbols of the transformation and decisions made by generations that shaped the history of these states. But what makes these houses so fascinating and terrifying are the stories they hold, the invisible voices that seem to echo through their hallways, the furniture that moves on its own, the shadows that dance on the walls, and the stories of those who dared to cross their thresholds and felt the presence of the inexplicable. In Mississippi, the McRaven House is known as the most haunted house in the state, and with good reason. Built in the mid-19th century, this mansion has been the scene of supernatural encounters that challenge even the most skeptical. The imposing structure, with its classical style and windows that seem to look into the past, hide secrets that have only been gradually revealed through the accounts of residents and visitors who swear they've sensed invisible presences. It's curious to think that such a beautiful and well-preserved house could harbor such a dark history, but this is the hidden truth that lies behind the elegant facade. Reports vary, ranging from the sound of footsteps upstairs when no one is there to the appearance of figures that quickly disappear when confronted. Some say the house holds the spirits of former residents, people who have not accepted the end of their journeys and who still wander between the rooms, silently observing everything. The place's heavy energy has a real impact on those who pass by, and many report profound changes in their perception of reality and life itself after visiting McRaven. It's as if the house challenges people's mindsets, forcing them to confront long-held fears and reconsider what they believe is possible. On the Alabama side, Gaineswood Plantation has an equally powerful aura. Known for its refined architecture, it's the setting for stories about apparitions of former owners, enslaved people, and even children who seem to play in the garden even when no one is there. The complexity of these stories shows how the transformation of a place can be linked as much to what happened within its walls as to what was experienced in its surroundings. Gaineswood is more than a house. It's a silent testament to the decisions and consequences of a past marked by inequalities, loves, losses, and personal struggles that seem to transcend time. Revelations from those who know both mansions continue to emerge, and it's fascinating to see how the accounts share similarities and differences that reveal nuances of culture, history, and emotions that permeate each state. The mentality of the Deep South, the emotional toll of stories of slavery, war, and Reconstruction, all of this blends together to create a unique atmosphere charged with meaning and mystery. Therefore, for many, visiting these places is not just a tourist experience, but a true emotional journey, an immersion behind the scenes of the past and present. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because when we talk about these haunted mansions, we're exploring something that goes far beyond superficial fear. It's a reflection on the impact of decisions made by those who came before, on how those choices still reverberate in our lives, and in what we leave for future generations. It's understanding that, even after centuries, certain stories retain their power and continue to transform those willing to listen and feel them. That's where the magic and mystery come in. These places challenge us to look within ourselves, to question our own journey, and to realize that in many ways, we are all connected to these stories in a deep and invisible way. And this connection is what makes these mansions more than just old buildings. They are portals to a hidden truth, to a world where past and present coexist in a delicate balance. As we delve deeper into the world of hauntings in Mississippi and Alabama, we begin to realize that the power of these stories lies not only in their ghostly elements, but above all in their intrinsic connection to the historical past of these places. The true essence of these hauntings lies in the pain, the difficult choices, the irreparable losses, and the injustices that have been perpetuated for generations. Those ancient buildings, the silent fields, and the empty corridors are not just scenes of terror. They are living witnesses to a painful transformation that affected not only the residents of the time, but also left a profound emotional legacy. In Mississippi, for example, the narratives surrounding plantations and colonial homes are always intertwined with the undercurrents of slavery, civil wars, and social tensions that have lasted well beyond the centuries. This historical impact creates a collective mindset in which the past is never completely separated from the present. This means that the energies that accumulate in these places carry much more than ordinary ghost stories. They carry the hidden truth of lives cut short, decisions that caused suffering, and suffering that reverberates to this day. It is precisely this blend of real history and supernatural phenomenon that gives Mississippi legends a unique depth, making them frightening not only for the presence of specters, but for the human weight they carry. In Alabama, the journey takes us to another dimension, where abandoned prisons, old factories, and historic buildings are visceral symbols of struggle and social transformation. The supernatural stories that emerge from these places are not just isolated accounts. They are important pieces of the puzzle that shows how society has undergone shocking, sometimes painful changes, and how these changes have left scars that are difficult to erase. The hidden truth here is that these hauntings often reflect the internal conflict and regret that permeate local history, as if the places themselves were manifesting a silent plea for recognition, justice, or simply peace. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, Because what sets these stories apart from simple spooky tales is precisely this connection to the human journey. The hauntings of the South don't exist in isolation. They are the result of a transformation involving body, mind, and spirit, and which challenges the way we view reality. Once we understand this connection, we begin to realize that decisions made centuries ago continue to impact the present, and that the memory of those events remains alive in a kind of energy that transcends time. Thinking behind the scenes of these narratives, we realize that ghost stories often function as a channel for releasing repressed emotions, as if apparitions were a form of expression for those souls who could not rest in peace. This creates a complex dynamic, where the supernatural is an extension of what remains unresolved in history, a revelation of the invisible consequences of human decisions. What we see in these manifestations, therefore, is not simply a paranormal phenomenon, but a testament to the persistence of memory and emotion in an environment that still bears the scars of the past. This idea that the environment can store and transmit emotions is reinforced by studies in environmental psychology, which show how certain places can evoke intense physical and mental sensations, shaping the perception of those who visit them. In the case of the haunted sites of Mississippi and Alabama, this interplay between history, emotion, and space creates a unique experience for those who venture into these territories. Many report feeling an internal transformation, a shift in mindset that goes far beyond fear or curiosity. It's a profound sense of connection with something greater, an impact that can alter their outlook on life, death, and what lies in between. And it's this complexity that makes the supernatural stories of these states so captivating and enduring. They're not just ghost stories meant to scare tourists. They're narratives that serve as a bridge between generations, connecting the past with the present, and perhaps even the future. With each account, with each appearance, we're invited to reflect on the decisions that shaped our collective history and consider the consequences they may yet have on our lives. Furthermore, this dynamic generates a sense of belonging and community among those interested in these topics. It's as if everyone who follows these stories is part of a vast network of people seeking to understand not only the supernatural, but also the lessons and revelations these narratives offer about humanity. This exchange of experiences, fears, and discoveries creates a space for transformation where curiosity and empathy walk hand in hand, leading each person on a personal and collective journey. And this journey is far from being just about fear of the unknown. It involves a deep reflection on what it means to exist, remember, and leave a legacy. Behind the scenes of ghost stories, we find universal themes such as loss, regret, hope, and even redemption, elements that resonate with anyone, regardless of their belief in the supernatural. This emotional impact is what gives these narratives life and relevance, making them not only frightening, but also deeply human. So, by exploring the hauntings of Mississippi and Alabama, we are actually exploring a much larger truth. We are accessing a collective emotional archive, a bank of memories that invites us to look within ourselves and at the history we have built together. It's an experience that goes beyond simple curiosity and can transform the way we see the world and our own journey. One of the aspects that makes the haunting stories of Mississippi and Alabama so vivid and impactful are the personal accounts of those who actually experienced or witnessed unexplained events. These narratives, often passed down from generation to generation, not only reinforce the credibility of the legends, but also create a direct emotional connection with those who follow these stories. When we hear someone describe in vivid detail the moment they felt an invisible presence, heard footsteps in an empty hallway, or noticed a shadow vanish into thin air, we are not just consuming entertainment. We are being invited to share a deeply human and transformative experience. Many locals in the cities and towns of the southern United States report frightening incidents that, even years later, remain vivid in their memories. Some tell of visits to old estates where doors open by themselves, objects move unexplained, and whispered voices fill the silence. Others describe encounters with spectral figures that, while frightening, don't seem to have malicious intent, but rather a message or a connection to the present. These experiences are so recurrent that they end up creating a collective atmosphere of respect and even reverence for these places, transforming fear into a form of connection with history and the supernatural. The impact of these stories goes beyond fear. They often change the mindset of those who experience them. A simple visit to a haunted place can become a true inner journey, a moment of reflection on what it truly means to live, die, and leave something behind. This transformation is one of the reasons these stories continue to be shared with such fervor. They are part of a process of understanding and accepting that which cannot be explained, but which is nevertheless part of our experience as human beings. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because it's fascinating to observe how these stories take on different layers of meaning as they are told and retold. Many ghost hunters, researchers and scholars of the supernatural who visit Mississippi and Alabama claim that these places possess a very particular energy, a kind of vibrational field that intensifies sensations and heightens perceptions. They tell of equipment that captures unexplained sounds, recordings that capture voices no one heard at the time of the recording, and images that show presences not visible to the naked eye. This evidence, even if contested by skeptics, adds to the mystery and fascination surrounding local stories. Furthermore, popular stories often reveal the behind-the-scenes of these narratives, bringing to light stories of ordinary people who, by chance, became protagonists of experiences that changed their lives forever. These stories lead us to reflect on the fragility of the reality we believe we know and how much there is still to be discovered. The impact of these stories lies precisely in this ability to question our certainties and invite us to look at the world with a more open, curious, and perhaps even humble mindset. When hearing about these experiences, it's common to feel a mix of emotions: fear, surprise, doubt, and sometimes even a certain comfort. This is because, as frightening as the stories are, they also remind us that we are not alone, that there is something bigger and more complex than we can comprehend. This sense of belonging to something greater creates a deep connection with the stories surrounding Mississippi and Alabama, making each shared experience an important piece within a larger mosaic of memories and mysteries. And what's most surprising is how these accounts intertwine with the official history of the places, creating a rich and multifaceted narrative. Contrary to what many might imagine, these stories are not mere inventions or exaggerations. They are often a natural extension of the local culture, a reflection of the experiences, fears, and hopes of the people who live there. This makes investigating these hauntings a fascinating journey through the intricacies of the human mind, social history, and spirituality. It is precisely this complexity that keeps interest in these stories alive and keeps them explored and reinterpreted by each generation. Whether from the voice of a resident who spent a night in a haunted house, a researcher who captured unexplained images, or a curious individual who simply felt something strange while passing through an ancient site, all these accounts contribute to the construction of a larger narrative, one that defies time and invites us to look at the unknown not with fear, but with respect and wonder. The importance of these stories goes beyond the supernatural. They lead us to reflect on the legacy we leave, the decisions that shape our collective destiny, and the impact our actions can have on future generations. It's a powerful reflection that resonates with anyone willing to look beyond the obvious and delve deeper into the mysteries that are part of our existence. What makes the supernatural stories of Mississippi and Alabama even more intriguing are the curious and strange facts that permeate these places. At first glance, it may seem like we're just dealing with old tales or local legends, but when we delve deeper, we realize that the hidden truth behind these stories has surprising nuances, blending culture, history, science, and even phenomena that defy logic. These details not only fuel the fascination with the supernatural, but also reveal the impact these narratives have on the mindsets of the people and the very identity of these states.